Growing up in our small village, I had always admired Aunt Lami. She was a widow, hardworking and determined to make something of her only son, Abdullahi. She would pound millet until her hands were raw and sell firewood under the scorching sun just to pay for his school fees. "Become a good person, Abdullahi," she would always say, her voice filled with hope. Abdullahi didn't disappoint her. He excelled in his studies, and by the time he got a job in the city, it felt like Aunt Lami's struggles had finally paid off. When Abdullahi returned to the village for his wedding, his smile could light up the darkest night. His bride, Maryam, was beautiful, though her mother, Hajia Larai, was known for her sharp tongue and arrogance. At first, everything seemed fine. Abdullahi sent money home regularly and visited often, but over time, his visits became less frequent, and the money stopped. Aunt Lami didn't complain. "One day he will come back with one heart," she told me when I asked. One day, while helping Aunt Lami fetch water, I overheard two women gossiping by the well. "They saw Hajia Larai going to a Natave doctor house," one of them whispered. They told the native doctor to divide Abdullahi with his mother. Hearts sank. The rumors grew louder. Some claimed they had seen Maryam and her mother visiting a native doctor in a neighboring town. They said charms had been buried around Abdullahi's house to turn him against his mother. One evening, I decided to visit Abdullahi myself. When I arrived at his house, Maryam was sitting outside, her face hard as stone. She barely acknowledged me and muttered something under her breath before going inside. When I finally saw Abdullahi, he looked tired, distant. I told him about the rumors, but he laughed it off. "People don't have a work except talking about people lives," he said, brushing me off. But I could see it in his eyes. Doubt had been planted. A week later, Abdullahi unexpectedly showed up in the village. His mother cried when she saw him. "I had a dream about you yesterday," she said, holding him tightly. Abdullahi didn't say much, but his face was pale, as though he had seen a ghost. That night, he confessed to Aunt Lami. He had found strange objects buried in his compound: cowrie shells, red cloth, and a small doll tied with thread. The native doctor's work had backfired. Instead of fully turning him against his mother, it opened his eyes. Abdullahi cut ties with Maryam and her mother shortly after. It wasn't easy, but he said he couldn't live with people who tried to destroy his family. He moved his mother to the city, where they lived together. To this day, whenever I pass by Aunt Lami's old house, I think about how love and greed collided in their family. Some say the story is a lesson, others call it a warning. For me, it's a reminder that even the strongest bonds can be tested, but they don't have to break.